All right, we're live. Ross, just talking about how it might be a red zone day for you. I don't have red zone, so I'm a little bit jealous. I am going to watch the Bears and the Jets, but without Justin Fields, it just doesn't feel quite as an exciting NFL Sunday. We're assuming that he's not playing today. Where are you at with the Bears and no Justin Fields in playing football games?
Yeah, this is absolutely a red zone day for me. I'll try and peek in a little bit on the Bears, a little bit of World Cup
Because they
too.
might not be on red zone much.
They're not going to be in the red zone.
Right.
No, they're not. They're not. I did a little. I just put a couple bucks though on the Chase Claypool anytime TD. It just feels like that's going to happen today. It's going to be like, oh, of course he's going to get a touchdown today with Justin Fields not playing, right? And so I got him today. I think it was plus 500, but. Yeah, this is unfortunately this is where we're heading into the dog days of the season for the Bears, where we're all just like anxiously waiting to get that top 2, top 3 pick, but it's not going to be fun for the rest of the season.
No, it's not. So Thursday football, nice. Thanksgiving, three games. Those are listed on the bottom right. I had a really good start to the day. Vikings game flushed it away, not flushed part of it away, I should say. I thought that game was going to go in the opposite direction. I thought that the Patriots defense was going to hold down that Vikings offense a little bit more than what it did, and Kirk Cousins did come through with an interception for me, so that was great. So I'll talk about the prop bets here in a little bit, but decent start to the week for me because of the first 2 games. Did you put any money on the Thanksgiving games?
I did. I took the I did a little bit of a parlay. I took the Bills in a money line, and then I parlayed it with a Diggs anytime TD and over 60 yards, which I was sweating for a while there, but he finally came through at the end of that game there. But yeah, that was, to me, that was probably the most exciting game all day. I thought the nightcap was going to be a little bit better. I thought the Patriots were going to be able to kind of hang in there a little bit with the Vikings, but they definitely couldn't. And now they got an issue there with Mac Jones, right? Because it just feels like he's not quite. He smells like a backup quarterback to me. And you see these games against some of these better teams, these better quarterbacks, and he just can't compete.
The man has had a defined ceiling.
Yes.
And has sort of hit up against that. And early in his career, people were taking victory laps on Mac last year because he came out clearly the best of the 5, 6, the 5 first-round quarterbacks from last year's draft, and came out and had success early. And it's like, yeah, sure, he had a reliable floor and a ceiling that he's in my mind, he can't stand up straight between his floor and his ceiling. That to me is what Mac Jones was. But let's talk about these lines. I'm not feeling a lot of these, and part of it is that there's 3 Thanksgiving games that are already off the board, and I already felt pretty good about some of those lines that I put money on. And I'm really weighing a lot of I like the favorites in a lot of these games. So I don't know where you're at. Start us off.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not an enticing slate. It kind of looks like the leftovers that are in your fridge right now from 3 days. It's looking at that last piece of turkey from Thursday night. That's kind of what I'm looking at here. And speaking of that, I'm going to go to a game that is probably not going to be exciting, but I'm still going to bet on it, and that's the Broncos versus the Panthers.
Okay.
And this is the Broncos on the road in Carolina. They're favored by 1 point. I still like them in this football game. I'm going to put a blue chip on there, but I think they're going to cover that spread, and I think they're going to win pretty convincingly. This is not a vote of confidence for the Broncos, but I just think the Panthers are in full-on tank mode right now. I think they're an awful football team. I think they're completely thrown in the garbage. They're in that C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young territory. They don't want to relinquish that second overall pick right to the Bears today, and they're going to go full tank mode. And I think Russell Wilson is going to be able to ball out the NC State Russell Wilson before he transferred to Wisconsin, and I'm all in on the Broncos today, which sounds crazy.
No, it's weird. The Broncos are a weird team, and they've got honestly, their defense looked great to start the year, and then their defenses looked a little rough, particularly after they traded Bradley Chubb. Defense doesn't look that good lately, so it's hard to tell exactly what the Broncos want to be. We know that the Panthers are trying to blow things up in the middle of the season, right? They fired their coach. They're starting Sam Darnold. It's a nice team to bet against. I'm gonna start off, and I am going to put a full bet on the Sunday night game. Let's bury Aaron Rodgers and the stupid
Yes.
thumb injury.
Yes.
Oh no, now it's this. Oh no, he's been hurt all year, Ross. Like
Mhm.
yeah, no, he really hurt his thumb early. That's why all those passes aren't as perfect or as you know what I mean. Like it's just. Of course, this is happening. Of course, we
Mhm.
get the injury. Everybody's injured at this point in the year. But of course, we're going to get this story about Aaron. Oh, it's hard to throw football, and I'm battling through it. And all this. Save face. You got the mouthpieces, Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter out there, giving these stories. Let's bury these guys, right?
Yes.
Eagles are a good football team. They haven't had like a comfortable win lately. Like they've been kind of sweating some of these out. This feels like the time to really kind of hit the gas. It's not a full score, 6.5. I think that they can beat them by a full score. I'm betting a full unit on the Eagles to take care of business tonight.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and so much so I'm actually going to join you on that as well. I'm going to put a full unit on there as well. I think the Eagles want to make a statement tonight, especially with the Cowboys coming out and looking so good on Thursday night, right? And they're going to try and keep pace a little bit and show that they're still the best team in the NFC, and I think they're going to be able to, like you said, bury Aaron Rodgers, thumb up. Put him out of his misery, please. I think this is the game that we might be able to see Jordan Love in this football game at some point, and also going forward to the rest of the season, we might be just see Jordan Love down the stretch for the Packers.
Yeah, let's again throw the dirt on him, bury him,
Yes,
and take
yes,
advantage of it while you can. Vaughn,
yes.
agree with you. Only hear about it when he's injured, right? Playing
That's
through
right.
it, you don't hear it. But it's all an excuse thing. We honestly we heard something similar about Russell Wilson earlier this year, right? Wasn't
Sure.
playing very well. Then we had these injury stories that come out. Oh, Matthew Stafford. Now Matthew Stafford thing was preseason, and we kind of heard about that, but they kind of reinforced, hey, what's the reason behind these guys not playing? They don't
Mhm.
say anything unless it's sort of like PR, like to kind of get people off their back. Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, a team that should be a good football team that hasn't
Mhm.
really shown it
Mhm.
against a bad football team, waiting for their quarterback, I guess, to come back and make his late season debut next week. Tom Brady going to Cleveland,
Yeah,
3 points.
yeah.
I still believe in that Bucks defense. I think that they're getting healthier and maybe gonna be able to play a little better football here. 3 points isn't enough for me to scare me off of this line. I would have loved it at 2.5, but three points here. I think they go on the road, take care of business. Guys are getting healthier. I think that offense starts to pick it up a little bit. Browns are kind of dead in the water. Their defense has been terrible. So blue chip for me.
I'm putting an orange chip on here. I already bet on this game this morning. I'm joining you on that as well. I think the Bucks going on the road. I think they're starting to kind of slowly pick it up, right? Coming out of
Yeah.
that Germany game and bye week, and Brady's looking a little bit better. It smells like a big Mike Evans day today for me as well. I think I read something that if he gets over 1,000 yards today, he's one of the something. He's in an elite company with like Jerry Rice and Randy Moss and stuff like that. And the guy is putting together kind of a Hall of Fame career. And it's kind of really quiet, but I think it's just a big game for the Bucks and Mike Evans and Tom Brady. Like you said, the defense is looking a lot better. If you saw what they did against Seattle in Germany, and I don't think that Jacoby Brissett can be able to hang with them today.
Yeah, I need to pick up the Bucks D, I think, at some point too, because
Yes.
for fantasy purposes, maybe not today, but because I've got that covered. But I think down the stretch they're gonna play a big role here.
Mhm.
I'm gonna hop back. I'm just kind of hopping all over the board here. Again, I like a lot of the favorites. This line here doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That's the 3.5 line for the Seahawks at home against the Raiders. I mean, do we think the Raiders are a good football team? I mean, I've been kind of betting against the Raiders all year. 3.5 points is, I don't know, man. Like, do we expect them to be able to keep it close? I don't. If we think that the Seahawks are a decent football team, then this line should be closer to a full score. I think Kenneth Walker has a big game. I got that here in a minute. I think that they're going to be able. The Seahawks are going to be able to control the tempo of this football game. There's just not a lot to like about the Raiders this year. They look disjointed. They're out of sync. They lost to Jeff Saturday, right? Like, what is it about the Raiders that we like that they're only 3.5 on the road and a tough place to play?
Right.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, this is a big game for Seattle too. Again, they put up a stinker in Germany, and they've been off a little bit, and they want to kind of get back on track too. So this is a get right game for Pete Carroll, and like you said, this smells like a big Kenneth Walker, spot, right? He should be able to go crazy against that awful Raiders defense, and Geno Smith should be able to get back too. So I like that. I'm going to take it to a West Coast game too, but I'm going to go with that Chargers Cardinals. I'm going to stay away from that line. Kyler Murray is coming back today. We saw some weird story about him and Cliff Kingsbury, and maybe
video games.
Yeah, maybe they're playing Call of Duty. Maybe they're like me and they're playing God of War for the last 2 weeks straight. But I'm actually, excuse me, I'm actually going to take the over in that 48. I think that we're going to get a lot of points today. Excuse me. Between these two teams, I think that Herbert and Kyler Murray is going to be able to go crazy. You know, I don't really trust both of these defenses. I like a good old-fashioned West Coast shootout today, indoors. Give me the over on the 48. I'm going to put a blue chip on there.
Yep. All right. I have the exact same in my notes. I like it. I'm going to join you. I don't really want to touch the line either. I believe that the Chargers are a better team. They don't have to travel very far here. This is not like I mean, no offense to Cardinals fan base, but they're not exactly the most rabid of fan bases. You're not walking into, some, like Seattle or Pittsburgh, like something where that it's going to be loud and kind of take you out of the game. I don't know. I mean, I if I had to pick a side, which I do on tally side, I'm going to take the Chargers, but I'm not going to bet it in this particular column. I'm gonna go to the game right above it. I know you love the Jags, man.
I do.
I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens as a football team. I think they're just always prepared. I think they're a good football team. I think they need to win this game to stay in the lead here in the AFC North. This game up here is going to be fun. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch the Bengals Titans game because I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yep.
But I'm gonna just throw a blue chip on -3.5. I know that they kind of stalled out a little bit last week. They had a bad first half. The Ravens had a bad first half against the Panthers. Came alive in the second half, took care of business. They won by 10 against the Panthers. So I just think they're a much better football team. 3.5 points isn't enough for me to scare away here. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah, it was a game I was staring at. I wanted to bet it. My heart said go Jacksonville. My head said Ravens, and so I said I'm going to stay away from it and just kind of watch from afar. But yeah, that is a very intriguing game. The game that I'm looking at, though, I think the Commanders are good. I think they're a good football team. I don't think the Falcons are a very good football team, even though they've got a bunch of wins. And I just don't trust Marcus Mariota on the road in Washington against that team, that defense. I'm going to put a blue chip on the Commanders to cover that spread today at -4. I just think that they are a solid football team. I think Taylor Heineke has, been playing with a lot more confidence. I think that they're going to be able to do what the Bears couldn't do last week, which is go up top and put some points on the board against that Falcons team. This feels like a very big Terry McLaurin game with Heineke as well. Brian Robinson being able to run. And I just think they're going to be able to cover that spread. I think the Commanders are looking like a sneaky good playoff team right now.
Yeah, we're really boring today, taking a lot of these these favorites. I'm going to switch out. I'm gonna join you with a orange chip here on the Bucks. I'm feeling a little bit better about that since you joined me, and so I'll join you also with the Commanders, and then I'm gonna put a blue chip on the over in that game because I think that Joe Burrow is going to have a big game. The Titans secondary is not very good. Maybe we get Jamar Chase. We'll talk to Eric Smith about that in the second half of the show. Either way, though, this sets up to me to be a big T. Higgins game. Again, I'll get to that in a minute. And I think there's going to be points. I think the Bengals are going to be able to get out in front. And then I think the Titans, I know the Titans is kind of low scoring team. I don't know, 42.5 playing against a team that's going to put up some points. I think they can score because, again, another thing I'm going to get to in a minute. I think they found something with their rookie. Traylon Burks had his breakout last week. I think that continues, and you still have Derrick Henry. I think there's going to be points in that game, so I'm going to go the over in that game, and that's my last bet.
Nice.
Still up the board with whatever else you got.
Yeah, my last one. I do like one dog today, and I like the Steelers on the road in Indianapolis. Listen, the Jeff Saturday buzz probably wearing off a little bit. I just trust Mike Tomlin more in that spot. But also, listen, Kenny Pickett actually had a decent game last week, and George Pickens is playing better right now. They found something in this rookie running back that they have who's been looking a lot better than Najee Harris this year. And I just think that the Steelers are going to be able to go on the road. I'm going to put a blue chip on there and win that football game. I'm going to pick them outright to win the game. So at least cover the spread at 2.5, right? I just think that these are two bad football teams, but I trust Mike Tomlin and that Steelers team more in that spot. I think that they got TJ Watt back, right? And they're going to be able to get a little feisty against Matt Ryan, who's just a stiff back there in the pocket.
We'll see if we can get you out of this negative.
Yes,
You almost got out last week.
So close.
So let's move on to our PrizePicks prop bets. If you're joining us on PrizePicks, awesome. If you haven't yet and you'd like to, promo code BEARS, 100% deposit match. Good place to start. So here's the thing. We bounced back last week.
Yep.
Right. We did all right. And then I did a special Thursday pick. PrizePicks reached out to me and said, hey man, we've got a bunch of Thanksgiving stuff. We got a free square. Mm-hmm. So if you have the opportunity, go ahead and put some stuff on it. So in my show with Robert, I did a pick 6 because why not, right? Mm-hmm. With just the Thanksgiving games, got 5 out of 6, Ross. Mm-hmm. I was this close to hitting a 6er, which is 25x. So I am giving myself credit for it, which it's a +2. It's not that big of a deal. I'm still way behind you, right? I still have to hit something here, but I'm just letting you know that I did take the opportunity to do a Thanksgiving game, and I am counting it because it is on the record, and I did put it out there. So again, just if you think I'm cheating you let me know. But I did put it, and we're both supporting each other. This is somewhat in competition, but it's we both want to see big numbers here. So that's what's going on there. We have a couple bets in the Cincinnati game. I'll start off. Mm-hmm. I already talked about it a little bit. T. Higgins, 70.5 yards. Tennessee's not good against the pass. And if the Bengals are going to be successful, they need to throw the football. They know that, right? Like Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. Like he's great for fantasy purposes. He's great in real life. And if he's going to be successful, it's going to be because of guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. I love T. Higgins. This is my guy. Mm-hmm. And I think 70 is just not that big of a number. You see 80s numbers for guys like him in games like this with, Diggs and, Hopkins and things like that. You see 80s, 90 yards. 70.5 doesn't scare me at all. I like T. Higgins in this one.
Yeah, you said it earlier. You feel like there's going to be some points in this game, right? So T. Higgins is probably going to be able to go crazy a little bit. I'm joining you in that game. I bet Evan McPherson last week on the same exact bet. I am doubling down on him again. I'm going over that 1.5 field goals made. McPherson, he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year, but he still is one of the better kickers in the league. And, like you said, both the offenses should be able to move the football today. I think we're going to get some points in a variety of different ways. I just think that he's going to be able to hit those 2 field goals probably before halftime.
Yeah, I love your kicker bets, man. Yes. I did a Tyler Bass bet on Thanksgiving, so I did get that. Other side of the football, Treylon Burks, again, 111 yards last week. I think he had his breakout. I think that he's back healthy. Like that was his issue early. As a rookie, you're still learning the playbook. You're still trying to get all that stuff figured out. And then he got hurt. So he was out. He put him on the short-term IR. He missed a number of games. And now he's back to full health. He's learning the playbook. They're getting him involved in the offense. Why would you stop, right? It's a little bit too easy for people like us who, I watch Tennessee games, right? I don't watch all of them, but I've watched a few. It's, to me, when they took Treylon Burks, it's like, oh, this is their A.J. Brown replacement. Like they looked at that and said, this guy is going to just replace A.J. Brown's production. That's a tall order for anybody to do that. But I think that's what we're looking at here. 43.5 yards means that they haven't put that. They're not. The book isn't convinced that this guy is now a guy. I'm going to bet that he is, and that he can get over. He can at least get 50 yards. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at. Treylon Burks over 43.5 for me.
Absolutely, I like it. I just got done talking about. We talked about we like the Bucs this week. I talked about Mike Evans, potential future Hall of Famer, having a big year, having a get-right game. I'm taking the over today on those 4.5 receptions. I just think that he's going to be able to really ball out today. I think he's hitting his stride right now. I think the Bucs team in general is hitting their stride. And, Tom Brady's going to go to Old Faithful. I know, he's got other weapons, Chris Godwin, stuff like that out there. I just feel like this is going to be a big Mike Evans week, and I'm going to take the over on those 4.5 receptions today. I'm
going to head out to Arizona. You talked about how you thought there was going to be a lot of points in this game. I agree. Yep. Keenan Allen looks like he's back. He started to get that, a lot of targets thrown at him last week. I think that this is where you see Keenan Allen kind of step up into that safety valve role that he plays so well in. 70 yards to be able to hit this bet against a pretty bad Cardinals defense makes me feel pretty good. I think that this is a get back game for the Chargers offense and Keenan Allen, and so I feel pretty comfortable with that one as well.
I like it. Mike McDaniel loves Jeff Wilson. He loves him so much that he spent time with him with the 49ers as a run game coordinator. He traded for him. He's getting him more involved in the offense in the coming weeks. The Houston Texans are awful against running backs in general. I'm taking the over today on the receiving yards for Jeff Wilson. That is one swing pass to him from Tua Tagovailoa for 15 yards. I can see it. I feel like it happened sooner than later. This game has blowout potential written all over it. It's one of the biggest lines of the year. What was it, like 13.5 or something like that, right? I think if you got some Dolphins players today on offense, you should probably cash in on those guys.
Well, the other thing is Raheem Mostert is going to sit this game more than likely, right? Like he was listed as doubtful recently. He's not going to play. Mm-hmm. So, there's probably going to be some other running backs that get some carries here, but that means that they're likely to put a little bit more on Jeff Wilson's shoulders. As a Raheem Mostert owner in fantasy, this has really irritated me that they traded for Jeff Wilson. But as a real football fan, this made a lot of sense. And it was one of those trades that was like, yeah, duh, that's totally perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to that Arizona game. We'll talk about the Arizona side of the ball. I love DeAndre Hopkins. He's my guy. And when he plays, it's like a black hole, man. Everything just gets sucked into DeAndre Hopkins. All the targets, everything goes his way. 7 receptions to me seems it's a solid number to ask out of him. I think he goes over 10. Like this is the kind of guy that just, again, they're going to need to throw the football to stay in this football game because I think that the other side's going to throw the football and they're going to score points. There's going to be a lot of points here. If you're going to be successful, you're going to have to throw to DeAndre Hopkins. If you're Kyler Murray, 7 receptions is something. DeAndre Hopkins can get that in the first half. Not that he will. I'm just saying like that's the kind of thing where he just gets on a heater. They throw to him 4 times in the same drive, right? Like, I mean, that's the kind of thing that just rolls up for DeAndre Hopkins. I like that one. And you have Murray.
I was going to say, I like it too. Let's hope he does throw the football today and not run because I'm taking the under on these 30.5 rushing yards today. Listen, bum hamstring. He's been out the last couple of weeks, right? You're going out there against that defense and Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James and stuff like that. They're going to try and keep him in the pocket today. I hope the Cardinals do throw the football today and not run with Kyler Murray because he is coming off that hamstring injury. So I'm going to take the under today on his rushing yards.
And then I will finish mine out with we talked about a little bit in the pick segment. Kenneth Walker, 77.5. He has gone over that frequently this year since he gained the starter role. Did not have a good game last week. Let's throw that one out. That's the Bucs defense. I'm not worried about that. That is not the Raiders defense is not the Bucs defense. And if we think anything at all about game flow, in my opinion, assuming that the Seahawks are who I think they are, and assuming the Raiders are who I think they are, the Seahawks are going to be winning this football game, and they're going to want to salt it away with some Kenneth Walker carries. That's what Pete Carroll does. He is the old school coach when it comes to defense and running the football, and then having one bell cow back. Walker is that guy for him ever since Penny went on the IR. I mean, I'm just betting on game flow here. This is a total game flow, 20, 25 carries for Kenneth Walker. He gets over 100 yards, easily sails past 77.
I like it. Maybe now, maybe he can finally get a picture up there, right? After he has.
I don't know what's happened with these rookies. Like, there's pictures for rookies everywhere. Why can't we get that? Why can't we get a
Kenneth Walker rookie? I'm going to take the under today for Marcus Mariota in his passing yards. Listen, I don't think Marcus Mariota is a very good quarterback right now. I think they're struggling in offense. We saw last week he wasn't very good against the Bears, and so they still found a way to win that football game. I think the Commanders' defense is pretty solid. He's going on the road, Washington. I'm going to take the under today on those 157.5 yards. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do much in the passing game. It feels like one of those 88-yard type of performances for him. So I'm going to take the under.
I like it. John has some suggestions for Bears fans that they take under on the defensive sacks and they take the over on the opponent's sacks. Probably not a bad plan, right? But Bears
Quinn Williams against Sam Mustipher.
Well.
Yeah, Quinn Williams against Sam Mustipher just sounds like a a recipe for disaster.
It's not good. It's not good. Yeah.
No.
Are you rubbing this in my face that EJ got 6 out of 6? EJ doesn't know what he's doing in gambling. This is all Brett. Let's just say it's Brett, right? EJ freely admits that he's not much of a gambler. Here's the thing. I was 5 out of 6, and I missed Diggs' yardage, and he had the targets. He had the targets. Targets were there, right? It was just that he just didn't Allen didn't put him on him, right? So I think my process was fine. And again, 5 out of 6, I won't complain. My process is fine, and I don't regret that I didn't hit it, but it was there, man. That's all I'm saying.
That's all right.
So, what do you got? Any final thoughts?
No, I think Trevor Siemian today versus Mike White feels like another Big Ten matchup, right? Like so we're getting like a Saturday game on a Sunday. So it is a rainy mess here today in Chicago. This feels like a good day to throw the red zone on, finish up those Christmas decorations, toss out the leftovers that you've had in your fridge since Thursday, and get right for the week. But hopefully we're able to make some money today. Hopefully we're able to go 6 out of 6, each of us, 5 out of 5, each of us here in our PrizePicks. And I think we like the favorites, but that makes sense because this is going into December now coming up where, these teams, like the playoff teams, the good teams, are really going to separate themselves from the bad teams. And you're going to start to see a lot of these bad teams really start to tank it, so to speak, kind of put it into cruise control. We don't even know if like Matthew Stafford is going to be playing this year. We don't know what's going to happen with Justin Fields and some of these other guys. So this is the time of the year where you start to see the good teams really separate themselves from the bad teams.
Yeah,
it's okay about the favorites. Yeah,
you get a good team versus a bad team. It does really kind of settle itself out. Some of those big lines are reflecting that. We didn't touch the big lines. Usually when the big lines happen, I tend to want the underdog, right? I mean, 13.5, 14 points for Houston at Miami.
Yep.
That's just too much. It's too much to just even think about because I think Miami could cover it, but it's also like it just starts to feel like a Big Ten school taking on a MAC school, and you're like, I don't know, I don't understand. 31 points. I don't understand how to handicap this. Let me just stay away from this. So, all right, Ross, well, appreciate it. Let's make some money. Enjoy the red zone today, and stay warm.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.
All right, later, man. And welcoming in Erik Smith. Erik, how was your Thanksgiving, sir?
Oh, it was great. A little trip to Knoxville, Tennessee. So I was on the road a little bit, but I'm back home. So I hope you had a good week. Hope everyone else did as well.
Yeah, it's always fun to get at least a little bit of time away from work and just be able to reset a little bit. December, obviously can be stressful for a lot of reasons, and hitting into the end of the year for all of that kind of stuff too. And we're rounding the corner here. 2/3 of the NFL season is going to be in the books after today or after tomorrow, I guess. And so kind of crazy, we wait for it all year and then it goes by super quick. And, especially for guys like us who put a lot of time into this, it's this running this marathon and then all of a sudden it stops. Right. So 2/3 trying to kind of take it all in and see where we're at. You sent me this morning. I did mine this morning before you. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Look at all of the similarities. This one might be the most matched that we have ever had. And so let's start off with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. And you got Tyler Boyd. At least I avoided that so that we weren't all over that. I talked about it earlier in the picks segment where I liked Burrow today to put up some points against that Titans secondary. But what led you, besides your homerism, to take Burrow and Higgins in this one?
Yeah, and I usually do kind of avoid the Burrow stack for these just because I know I have my homerism. But I had a little trouble this week. Like, I think maybe some of it's missing the Thursday games, and there were some good quarterbacks there. Just going through the stack options, like, do you want to pay up for Mahomes against the Rams? Like, Fields is hurt. Kyler Murray coming off an injury. I was really struggling on who to stack, and I kind of ended up on the Bengals. I do think there's a good chance for a lot of points to be scored. I worry a little bit. This is a Titans defense that obviously sacked him 9 times in the playoffs last year, and we've seen pass rush still give the Bengals problems this year. So there's a little bit of concern for me there, but this Bengals offense is just all about the passing game. They just don't run the ball much anymore, which is great because their passing game is way more efficient. And so this is a really tough Titans run defense. And I just don't see any way that Burrow's not throwing the ball 40 times or more in this game. Like it just lines up for a pass heavy game. And when I was looking at all these options, I just felt like the Bengals stack does give us the biggest upside here. So it's kind of an upside play. I would not be surprised if this Titans defense gives them trouble and slows them down. But if the Bengals are going to put up points, it's going to be Burrow and Higgins.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm invested in this passing offense in multiple ways. And so I'm, predetermined to want to like it. But I think that this is, again, it says on the screen, Titans defense 27th against quarterbacks in fantasy, and they are 30th against wide receiver scoring, right? So they are not good. They're not a good secondary. And the Bengals, that is their strength, is to throw the football and throw the football deep to guys like T. Higgins or intermediate to Tyler Boyd. Makes a lot of sense to try to take advantage of that. I didn't want to double up because I've done that in the past. I like Boyd a lot, but I ended up going with the other side of that coin with Treylon Burks, which I thought was a sneaky play, which you did the exact same thing, right? So that's not exactly a good play in terms of the defense that they're going against, because the Bengals have been pretty good on defense and they've limited wide receivers. But to me, it was a value play, 5,900 for Burks, who is on the upswing, right? Had his first 100-yard football game last week. And if you believe in the first part of this equation, again, you have to build a narrative in your mind of what you think is going to happen in these games. So if you believe that Burrow is going to be successful throwing the football to T. Higgins, going to be successful throwing the football to Tyler Boyd, you think, I'm betting the over, right? Like all of these things mean that there's going to be points, which means that Titans, who love to run the football, are going to have to throw a little bit. And where have they been successful throwing the football lately? It's Treylon Burks last week. Maybe that continues. They were obviously very good at throwing it to A.J. Brown in the past. We've all wanted him to be the A.J. Brown character. So to me, this is your opportunity to get him in on cheap before that price goes up.
Yeah, and I mean, I've loved Berckes since the preseason, and the injury really set him back. Obviously, we still need his snap share to increase. He was like 53% of the snaps last week, but he still drew a 22% target share. So when he's out there, they're throwing him the ball. So there's more upside for him if he's on the field all game. So yeah, it's kind of like you said, building a narrative here, like in a standard fantasy lineup. Berckes is risky, but if we're playing this is going to be a Bengals Titans shootout, then Berckes makes a ton of sense on the way back. Super talented. He can catch the ball deep. He can work underneath, run after catch. And I will say on the Bengals defense, like the stats are going to look a lot better than they probably are going forward with Chidobe Awuzie out. He's their number one corner. It really has a ripple effect on their cornerbacks. They still have good safeties. They still have good linemen, but they are a little bit weak at corner right now. So if Tennessee is forced to pass, I think they will find some success, even if it's come from behind mode. But I think Tennessee's offense will put up points against the Bengals today. I'm kind of on board with your over pick. I see points being scored in this one.
My other wide receiver in the first three there is Curtis Samuel. I think you could take, pick your Washington wide receiver. They're priced about the same. I just don't really believe in the Falcons secondary. Right? It's just all that pick is. Give me a little bit of action on one of those wide receivers. We both had James Conner, and I think that is that the Chargers cannot stop the run, and Connor's back and probably going to have quite the carry share for him is going to be pretty high, right?
Yeah, I mean, they surprisingly cut Benjamin the other week. He's been getting a lot of snaps ever since. He's kind of back to his old touchdown scoring role. So, yeah, Chargers defense gives up high yards per carry. He was actually the last one I fit into my roster here. I had Rachaad White and Jeff Wilson Jr., who are, I think, going to be the most popular plays today. And I kind of wanted to come off one of them, and it just ended up being Wilson because he was more expensive. But I think you're going to see a lot of Rachaad White and a lot of Jeff Wilson and other teams' lineups this week. And I do think they are really good plays. I mean, Wilson plays a Houston defense that cannot stop anyone on the ground. Same with Cleveland. Like, I don't know if you watched that Bills game last week, Browns Bills. It took the Bills about a quarter to figure out that they needed to run the ball some, and then they ran for like 160 yards, which is a lot for the Bills. So the Browns defense is really bad against the run, and that's going to be positive things for Rachaad White. I do wonder if Tampa Bay is one of those stubborn teams. They're still going to throw the ball, but that's certainly the way you beat Cleveland is on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. White and like you said, like those seem, Wilson seemed to be the obvious picks, and Wilson the pick. Ross and I talked about on the prop bets. You got Mostert out. that's what's going to happen is, people are going to see that price that isn't priced in. And so, people are going to take advantage of that, and good for them. But then if you're trying to win in a tournament, you kind of have to zig a little bit and on some of these and hope that, again, maybe everybody's taking Burrow, and then, we probably should have zagged in a different direction. I'm taking my guy, Kenneth Walker. Again, in my mind, this game is setting up for Seattle to play ball control offense and have the lead and try to take the air out of the football. They do that with Kenneth Walker. He's not super expensive, but he is like a premium play for sure. It's the most expensive guy in my lineup after Burrow. But to me, I was just, Raiders aren't very good at stopping the run. They give up a lot of points to fantasy running backs, and that was kind of an easy choice for me. And then let's go to the flex. We both picked a Kansas City player, right?
Yes.
So I find that like there's very little difference between what we did here. But I took Pacheco because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out. They've been going to Pacheco more. He had 100 yards rushing last week. They're probably going to be winning this game pretty comfortably and out ahead, and no real big deal. It's a huge spread. It's like 15 points or something like that. And if that's the case, I know Andy Reid loves to throw the football. I know Mahomes loves to throw the football, but you'd think that a guy like Pacheco is going to get some carries.
Yeah, totally agree. I think he's the better back to pick in games where you do expect them to have a lead and running the ball a lot. Kansas City doesn't always do that when they have the lead. They still throw sometimes, but this seems like one of those matchups where the Rams are just mailing in the season. I'm not even sure if Allen Robinson's playing. Like it's pretty ugly over there. So this could be a runaway for sure. I just kind of like the price on Juju, and that's how I ended up on him. Kadarius Toney is injured. That experiment, we'll see how long that lasts for. But I was actually trying to get Travis Kelce in my lineup. I feel like he's probably a valid play every single week. And I like the value, the discount on George Kittle, who's shown some real nice upside lately. But I kind of still wanted a piece of that Chiefs passing offense. So that's how I ended up with Juju there.
I mean, on the other side of that, again, reinforcing my belief in the points available in the Chargers Cardinals game. I took Gerald Everett, very cheap tight end option. You think that he could spike a touchdown for you, maybe get 50 yards. That's kind of where I was going with that. I didn't love a lot of the expensive tight end plays in terms of matchup. Now, some of them are matchup proof, and so you pay up for those guys because they're matchup proof. But I was just like, I'm going to take the cheap option here and try to use that money wisely elsewhere. We both went kind of mid-tier. Maybe I went a little cheaper defense. I don't actually believe in the Broncos defense at all anymore. Like, I think the Broncos defense looked really good at the start of the year, but I think they've really kind of fallen off here. And I don't know if it's just a motivational thing or, they're just kind of playing out the string, or, Bradley Chubb was that big of a deal to them, or whatever it was. You have a much better defense against a weak opponent. I love that play. I just didn't have the extra $500 in my lineup, and I get to put this against Sam Darnold. So that was it. That was my rationale.
Oh, that's a great rationale. So that's a good choice as well. These Broncos games are tough because it's just their offense and defense turns these things into a slog. And it's kind of like, how much is the defense is good, but how much is the defense? How much is just the offense can't put up points? But yeah, Sam Darnold, that's ripe for turnovers there. Same with the Dolphins. I mean, they're playing Kyle Allen, I believe the Texans are now. Like that can't be a good thing. So yeah, the one thing I like about the Dolphins defense here is if they put up some fireworks, Houston has to come from behind and throw a lot. That could be a really nice day. So that was actually one I wanted to mention is, I mean, Tua and his receivers I think they're a stack play every single week. And all the matchups against Houston say to play the running backs, but I don't know that Houston's going to be able to stop Tua and Waddle and Tyreek either. So if you don't like this Burrow stack that we have, I think Miami is a nice pivot if you'd rather get Tua in there.
Yeah. So to be clear, if you like part of my lineup, you can try to shave $500 off of somebody and go upgrade to the Miami defense. It's a better play. I fully admit that. I don't know where you're going to take it from, but you can definitely do that. Maybe you do play Rashad White instead of like James Conner or something like that, or maybe you don't like the Kenneth Walker play. I mean, to me, it's my guy this week. So let's move on. A little ahead of schedule, but that's okay. We both need to get out of here for different reasons. So we're going to move on to Survivor picks. It is an even week, so that means that you get to go first. I think this is going to be a very fast conversation for both of us. Tell me I'm wrong.
I believe so. It makes me wonder if I'm missing one now, but I think I'm locked into the Chiefs here. I'm sorry, the 49ers here.
Okay, yeah, I was like,
that's
not
the Chiefs was the one I was looking at in the crazy high spread. But 49ers here. They're 8.5-point favorites at home against the Saints. Obviously, we know the defense is good, and that offense with all these weapons right now is pretty scary. I mean, even with Jimmy G at quarterback, like you can't pick 4 better weapons on an offense than what you have in San Francisco. So they're a team that I feel like Vegas and a lot of people have been higher on than I have been all year, but I'll gladly take them against the Saints. Lattimore's out again. It's a good spot at home.
I looked at your lineup, who you had available to you, and it took me about 10 seconds to just be like, there's no other option here for Erik, which means that we've taken San Francisco in back-to-back weeks, which is fine because they're starting to play good football, and that's what happens sometimes. We needed to kind of wait them out a little bit for them to kind of figure it out. Trey Lance early, we didn't take him. He got hurt. Jimmy is back. Again, still kind of struggling. Now they're hitting their stride. They're getting big spreads too. Like the books did not take any time to wait for you to make money on low spread games with the Niners. They were quick on putting that spread up high, and the Niners have been kind of coming through there. For me, very easy. I have the Dolphins available to me. They're playing the Texans at home. It is a huge spread. Neither one of us have the Chiefs, which is the other big spread this week. I have no other choice. There's not even anything that tempts me that would be like, well, maybe I'll be cute and I will save the No. It's week 12. I'm down 2. Like, I have to take the free squares when they're there for me. If Houston comes out and wins this football game, whatever. Like, it is what it is. This is the right process for me at this point. I have to take a safe pick here when it's available to me. It's the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if either of us have picked them. You could make a case maybe for playing the Seahawks at home against the Raiders, but I think that's going a little, when you have such an easy choice, I would do the same thing. I would take the locked in play, but if anyone's looking for one farther down, Seahawks at home against Raiders feels pretty good. I think some people would probably like Ravens on the road against the Jaguars. Ravens look like they're really rounded into shape, but road game, you never know. So those would be some of the farther down options I'd look at.
Yeah. If I was, we both use the Ravens. If I was at all in a position to, like, let's say the Niners didn't have that game and you already had picked the Dolphins and I was trying to be sneaky and I had the first pick or something, like, I could maybe see making a case for, like you say, like taking the Seahawks off the board to put you in a harder position to try to make a harder call. But it's boring this week, guys. I'm sorry, but sometimes I have to kind of protect myself here, because if I go down 3 with like 5 left, and we do have the double weeks here, so there's still hope for me, but man, I'm already starting to kind of sweat this when I started looking at this. But
I did take a lot of the big favorites early. So other than I think a Jets pick that Dustin did when he was filling in for me, I'm gonna have to start going pretty deep here. Well, yeah, that one worked, but I guess you could take the Jets against the Bears this week, but I don't want any part of that. But I'm gonna have to start going further down the roster here pretty soon, so it could be you might be able to gain some ground here at the end. That's what I'm saying.
So we finally got some inactives here. Looks like for sure Justin Fields, which I was on our preview show earlier this week, and my colleague Robert Schmitz said I would probably put it at like maybe 30% that he plays, but then part of me thinks it's like 60. And I go, I'm trying to figure out if Justin Fields' jersey number or his percentage chance to play is higher. Like, I just had no confidence that he was going to play in this football game. So, but what's annoying is that I'm waiting all week to be able to put him into the injury slot. My league only allows 1, unfortunately. And so I'm waiting all week to be able to put him in the injury slot. I've got Joe Burrow. I'm fine. But I want to keep him. I don't want to release him. I mean, he plays the Lions in championship week. Like, he could be huge down the stretch. So if you can sacrifice the spot or put him in the IR slot, do so. And then with that open spot, I picked up the Tampa Bay defense for next week. They've got a good matchup next week. I have the Niners defense. Somebody released Tampa Bay's defense on their bye week. And so it's just been sitting out there all week. And I've been like, please, no one else take this. So I literally just made the move on my phone. But I wanted to kind of open that up to you in terms of, like, just, roster management, things like that, like be active, use those IR slots. And then at what point do you start thinking about like playoff defenses or trying to, make sure that you're grabbing your defenses early if you got an extra spot? Like, how do you kind of play that?
Yeah, we're definitely there. Because most leagues have this week and probably 2 more before the playoffs, I believe. Now that we have, an extra week in the season, it keeps confusing me. But now is the time where like maybe having a wide receiver 6 on your roster isn't as valuable, and it's time to double up on defenses or tight ends or just some position where you think you can play the matchups ahead. So yeah, you're right. Now's the time to focus on that. I mean, there's still a lot of time for injuries to hit, so you are taking a little risk, depth on your roster at running back or whatever. Just kind of feel out your waivers, see what the options are to replace all the various positions. I mean, I know a lot of leagues right now, quarterback is pretty brutal on waivers, so it's not a bad time to have 2 quarterbacks on your roster in case you get an injury. Just kind of check out your waivers, see what the replaceability is for the different positions, and go from there, because you don't want to have a rash of injuries at running back, and then all of a sudden you're playing a kind of a backup timeshare type guy. So just kind of read the league. It's definitely team dependent, but now is the time to start focusing on the playoffs if you're in a good spot.
Yeah, it feels like for me, it like you said, at some point, do you need a wide receiver 6?
Yeah.
And probably not. But if running backs, I mean, you might want to hold on to running backs more just because of that volatility. But you probably don't need the second. I mean, I've never advocated having a second tight end anyway. But if you're still holding on to the second tight end and you got a good first one, you probably release that second one. And I just tend to get a little obsessed with defensive matchups, and I think I don't think that the worry that I put into it is worth the amount of payoff, because there is such a volatility. But I just like to have good matchups down the stretch, and when you're going through the bye weeks, and rightfully so, teams will drop good defenses for matchups, or they got to win. They don't want to carry 2 defenses. I think a lot of fantasy people would say never carry 2 defenses, and I actually disagree. I think if you can get 2 good defenses, that it's worth the extra spot, because you can play matchups, and then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to kind of fight it out each week. And so I've been kind of waiting for this moment, and this moment right now that you kind of witnessed, that I jumped on it on my phone when they officially made Justin Fields inactive at 10:30. I picked up the Bucks, and now I can play Bucks and Niners the rest of the year, and I feel pretty good about that matchup. And I don't think I'm going to get anybody else on waivers. So that's just how I approach it. I don't know if that's helpful for anybody. It's just a little thing that I have done over the years, and I know a lot of fancy people are not into.
No, like I said, I think a lot of the things that we say not to do gets thrown out the window this time of the year. Yeah. So now's the time to look at who you're actually going to start the rest of the way, build your roster around that. I was just looking ahead at defensive options that are on waivers in my league, and next week, Browns play the Texans. They're available in about every league, so that's not a bad one. If next week is more important to you than maybe 3 weeks from now, because you're not sure if you're going to be in the playoffs, maybe you go ahead and pick up the Browns against Houston for next week, stuff like that. So I think that now's the time to really focus on, are you scratching and clawing to make the playoffs, or are you kind of just coasting to get into the playoffs? Because I'm not sure seeding matters a whole lot in fantasy playoffs, unless it's a bye week. That's obviously huge. You want the bye week. But beyond that, I personally don't care if I play the last seeded team or the 4th seeded team.
No, you just got to get in.
Yeah.
You just got to get into the dance and then go from there. Yeah. Obviously if you can get a bye, that would be good. But so anything else? Again, I know that you got to get out of here pretty quick. You've got family stuff, and I got to go do some stuff as well. So we'll try to cut this a little bit shorter. I don't see any start-sit questions in the comments or anything, but basically big news I would assume is Justin Fields, Raheem Mostert, maybe a couple other guys that are inactive this week. Anything else that's kind of sticking out and people need to know about and navigate around?
I would have one I want to get your opinion on real quick, but first I'll say, we kind of mentioned before, but the Rams just seems like we don't want to play anyone in that offense. I mean, now we don't know if Stafford's going to play this year. Allen Robinson's out. They released Darrell Henderson. I'm staying away from that offense for now. I actually, before even Justin Fields was out, I was saying that this is probably a good spot for Michael Carter if you really need to play him, the Jets running back. Once Breece Hall got hurt, we were kind of hoping like he was going to take over. His snap share has just kind of been in the 50% range. He's been relatively disappointing, but in that stretch that Breece Hall's been hurt, Michael Carter's gone against the Patriots twice and the Bills once. And those are like, that's a brutal fantasy stretch for a running back. So on paper, this is a good one against the Bears. They're giving up the fifth most points to opposing running backs. I'm sure that's come down a little bit recently as the offense has actually started to put up some points for the Bears. But now that Fields is out, I would think if you need to play Michael Carter and you've been sitting on him for a while, this is his chance to kind of regain some of that momentum we saw from last year.
Yeah, and game flow, and you got Mike White in at quarterback, and I mean, in a weird way, like, you know, the joke was, man, Bears caught a tough break. They benched Zach Wilson, right? Yeah. And I know it's kind of funny, but it's also, I think that this team, I think it's the right move for this team. It could be wrong. I mean, if the Bears come out and beat them today, then, you know, it's just going to be kind of a disaster in New Jersey. But I think that this is the right thing for Robert Saleh to have done. And I think the team's going to like rally around it. And it's a good spot because the Bears defense is low talent level. They're banged up. Like, you know, they're not going to be playing, you know, Jaquan Brisker, their nice looking rookie safety. I mean, I just don't know where the talent is to stop anything. I think Mike White can have success in the air, and I think that they're going to everybody has success on the ground against them. And if you think game flow, they're probably going to be milking a lead. Like, I don't think Trevor Siemian's going to come in and give the offense a jolt. So the Jets are probably going to play ball control in this one. Yeah, I mean, if they want to give him 15, 20 carries, they could. Is James Robinson a factor in this offense yet?
Not much. I think he's been playing through injury too. So yeah, he has not made a difference since he's come over. So
yeah. So to me, yeah, it's a good spot. I actually thought about putting him in my daily fantasy lineup, but I hate betting against the Bears in any form. I do kind of go against that, but it's the smart move today.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, it's nice to not have any bye weeks this week. So hopefully you're all rostered. That's probably maybe why there aren't a lot of questions, is everyone's rosters are as good as they've been in a few weeks now. So
3 games already in the books, right? And all that.
Yeah.
So we've got so week 13 will be a couple buys, and then the Bears are on bye in week 14. I think there's 2 teams on bye then. Most everybody's through their bye weeks. Oh, and Lester says James Robinson is an active. So, I mean, I don't know who's going to steal carries from Michael Carter. And again, so much of this stuff in how I approach these things is trying to figure out what's the most likely game flow. I mean, you get it wrong. I get it wrong regularly. It's not like it's a foolproof method. But a lot of times, like, is this going to be kind of a slug? Is this going to be a game where one team's going to jump out to a lead and, you know, try to milk the clock? Like, you just kind of try to build a narrative of how you think this game's going to go, and then kind of make decisions from there. And that, to me, this Bears game is, they're probably going to go down early, and that means that the Jets are going to probably run the football in the second half.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Hit my microphone.
Yeah, that's what's been kind of difficult about this year too for fantasy, is like we've got these teams like the Browns. Like, if the Browns are playing with a lead, they are a tough team. They've got a good pass rush, a good running game. The second they get behind, though, they're in trouble. And we got a lot of teams like this year that like can't stop the run, or can't run the ball, or can only run the ball, like the Falcons. It's just like who gets out to the 14-0 lead determines a lot of this stuff. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, there's like a min-max element to some of these roster builds. And so if they can take care of their strength or take advantage of their strength, then they're good to go. If they get exposed, then, you know, they're in trouble. And it's, you know, I don't know how much World Cup you watch, but there's some of that
USA
stuff too.
So far.
Well, yeah, there's a lot. So, I mean, I'm no soccer pro or anything like that, but you know, I understand a little bit, played a little bit, and it just, the strategy stuff is always fascinating to me because, you know, one team, they're not always out to just try to win games, right? Like some teams are there to, hey, we need to tie. So we're going to just sit back and we're going to just play hard defense. We're not going to allow anything, you know, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of different. So, you know, you can't assume, you know, what's going to happen. Football games, generally everybody's trying to win, right? Yeah. So that's generally what you see, but there's different ways to do that, and different ways to dig out in front. And, you know, some teams are fast starters and some teams, you know, can't make adjustments, all that kind of stuff. But you just try to take your best stab and see what happens. And if you're right more often than you're wrong, then you're in pretty good shape. And then, that's true in gambling. That's true in fantasy, right? All you got to do is kind of win a few more than you lose, and you get in the playoffs and, get hot in the playoffs and you stack trophies. That's all it takes.
Absolutely. Just give yourselves a chance at the end, and hopefully the breaks go your way.
Chip in a chair. So, all right, well, we'll get out of here today. Thanks everybody for joining us. Good luck to all of your fantasy teams. Good luck in all of your bets, and hopefully everybody profits. See you guys.